What's going on, guys? This is Chandler Smith, and today we are going to be analyzing this single family home. And I'm actually with Ryan Myers. Now, this is a sales rep that's worked for me the last 2 years that's now got money in the bank, and he's trying to decide if this is going to be a good investment property. So, Ryan, the last 2 years, how have you done selling?
Awesome, thanks, Chan. I've done awesome. My first summer, I passed just over $50,000, and this year, as my second summer, I made $147,000.
Cool. So the first thing you got, obviously, was this sick new Jeep.
Had to.
And then you decided, I want to create a passive income and start working on getting some rental properties, and that's why we're here today. So we're going to go through the numbers. We're also going to do a full walkthrough of this property so we can help Ryan decide if this will be a good first investment property for him to jump into. So let's get started.
All right.
Cool. So first off, exterior, couple things I'm looking at. The roof looks like it's a metal roof. You're going to want to have it checked in the inspection. Okay. But what I love about a metal roof is they last forever, and you usually don't have to pay for a lot of maintenance. And if it's been put on pretty recently, you're probably going to be in good shape. Now, I'm also looking, there are probably a couple things you could do to spruce this up, to get the rents up. Just taking care of the lawn, just making sure, it could be pretty cute. I'm sure there's something you could think of, but overall, it's not a bad looking property for the price range that you're looking in. So let's check back. Now, in one of my other videos, I totally stepped in dog crap. I am like walking on my tippy toes because we almost hit some dog crap here a little earlier. So, all right, so let's head inside and see what we find.
All right.
So right away, a couple things that are really nice for rental that you just don't have to worry about. You can tell they've redone the kitchen cabinets. They've also got tile floors that, they're a little cracked, but overall, I wouldn't touch this. Okay. Like, there's nothing that I would change just because people see this and they're looking in the price range you need to get this to at cabinets that are 100 years old. Okay. That's an exaggeration, but just trash. This is going to grab someone, and I think right away it'll be good for the price range you're trying to fill for what you're picking up this for. Perfect. Let's go and hop into the bathroom. Stuff like this, it makes it look ghetto, but those are little fixes that shouldn't stress you out. Yeah. Now in here, this sucks, but it's also nice that you do have a washer and dryer in it. That being said, it's a house, so I would hope it has a washer and dryer, and the location's rough. However, you can see they've got a nice vanity. They've got nice new tile in here. For the size and the price, I'll turn that fan off. For the size and price, again, I'm not seeing anything that would turn me off. Yeah. And I know this might not be a place that you're super pumped to live in, but when you're trying to pull $900 in rents for a place where they don't have anyone next door, it's looking really clean. Now, as we're going on filling, this is a little bit of a trip hazard. I would probably put something here if you can so that you're not having them run into issues. The windows are new, which is nice, and we'll check the other windows. But now when I'm doing a walkthrough, I would just check, make sure you're getting warm water. Odds are when you bring an inspector through, which 100% I think you should with a property like this, just because I'm sure there's weird stuff, whether it's electrical or plumbing or other things that they can see downstairs and that are showing that you want to know. First of all, hopefully they help you get them down on the price, but also just things you don't want to end up in a situation where you've got this huge expense and they've covered it with some of this nice tile that gets you pumped. So not that it's going to be under the tile, but you know what I mean? You make it look pretty and then you run into a big issue. You don't want to deal with that. So I'd always pay the couple $100 to get a full inspection. So far I'm looking at this saying I definitely think you could pull the rents on it.
Awesome.
Now, one thing with this, as you can see, you're always wanting to fill in your feet. Right away, you can feel some soft spots. And I don't know if you can see from the camera, but we've got the wave going. Now, this is going to happen with older properties. The thing I can't tell you, nor would I want to, that you're going to want to make sure an inspector is good with, is going downstairs and seeing if that's anything that's going to cause major issues in the future, or if it's just natural settling that happens with old homes. I've owned fourplexes that look like this, but when we went and looked at it, it wasn't a major issue that's going to cause issues in the future. If it is, whether it's a foundation problem or something else, you want to know beforehand. Awesome. So in here, one thing I like molding looks pretty ghetto, but with a little bit of paint and patch, you can make this look really good and really pop. And maybe you decide you don't want to because you've got the door with the natural wood. I personally think when you get some white in It really makes it pop. It'll make the wood look better. But either way, this is pretty clean and it's going to look nice for you. Everything's painted in here. You've got a bedroom. So this is a 2-bedroom apartment. And we'll look at the numbers, but I think we're trying to get 900. From what I'm seeing, I think you could pull 900 all day in this property. Now, the one thing that I don't know the answer to that made me nervous is it looks like there potentially might be a little water damage in the floor and you're really spongy right here. And so I should know what that means. I would just get an inspector in and make sure that it's nothing serious to deal with. On your entryway, you've got a nice clean entry. They've got newer lighting. Honestly, I feel like this is something that, it's pretty easy to take a peek at and say, hey, I think we could pull 900 in rents and make it work.
Sweet.
Windows look good. You just want to look for any moisture in between the panes. It's something you can help work them down on the inspection. But the thing that's nice about this property is they've put in new windows. A lot of this stuff has been redone where if an inspector says, look, there's nothing major, this looks clean. It's a good vibe for a 2-bedroom apartment. Both of the bedrooms are pretty good size. We checked all of the windows. They all look super clean. I think one thing that is really cool about this is there are a couple options you have. First off, you could move in and live in it.
Okay.
If you're living in this property, even if you don't pull the rents I'm talking about, your cash on cash return when you move out and put someone in here is going to be huge because you're able to get such a low down payment. And so if you're single, you're in this place where once a year you can move the next couple of years, take advantage of that. You get to live in a 2-bedroom. You could rent these out or at least one of them to another buddy, and you're probably going to be able to break even on your payment, have a place to live. In a year from now, I'm guessing you're above 20% on your cash on cash return for the actual money you have invested. You're going to get appreciation and everything else. The other thing that's cool about looking at single family stuff is something like this is being shopped out by someone who's just wanting to get into their first house to live in. And so you're in that low area, your taxes are low, it's in kind of an interesting area where if you can rent it for what it needs to be rented for, then you're not competing for the duplexes or the fourplexes that are getting multiple above asking price offer. You're in this situation where you can get your feet wet, you've got your first investment property. When you move out, then when you call someone to put in an offer on one of those multifamilies, you're not one of the multiple people that is saying, hey, this is my first deal, that they're like, oh, I don't know if I want to take his offer. He's asking for the FHA loan. He's in this situation where he hasn't done a property. He might get cold feet. But you can say, hey, I have 1 or 2 or 3 single family homes. I'm moving into multifamily. You know my financing is good. You know my situation is good. And it's just going to help you to leverage your situation to get into some of those bigger multifamily things. And so even though this isn't a weird area, I really think it could be a situation where a year from now you could be cash flowing really well. Or we're going to go look at price wise, but there are a couple things that I would point out. First off, I would get an inspection to see if there's anything weird with the plumbing and electrical. We're going to walk downstairs again. We walked down before the video and it just looked funky to me. I couldn't figure out what all was going on. But if you find anything hairy there, but that's fixable, that's something you can use to work down the inspection. The things I would use, they've got the new windows, but I would make sure you check the roof. And then I would go and you've got a lot of busted tiles. You've got a couple of those little holes in the walls, chips, dings. You've got all the reason in the world to now get this under contract and see if you can't get them to knock another $5,000 off after you've got it under contract. And I would just go through and put together this shiz list of, hey, this needs some work. This looks out of shape. This needs fixed. X, Y, and Z. Put them in the list. Say this is a tripping hazard in the bedroom, whatever it is, and say, look, don't want you to fix it. I just want you to give me a deal off the asking price, and I'll handle these and get them done the right way. Cool. Because then if they say no, hey, it's probably still a good deal, but you've got a good list of things that you can hopefully move them down on. And it's crazy because once someone has it under contract and then you come back, a lot of times you can get them to say, heck, if this could be a done deal, why not? I don't want to start the process over, and what's an extra couple grand off of the asking price.
Awesome. For somebody that is a first-time homeowner right now, would you suggest, as far as me moving forward on going under contract and everything, would you suggest me putting the 5%, moving into the home for however long I need to, or do you think it would be more beneficial for me as a first-time owner to put the 25% down and continue like that and just have renters move in immediately?
Yeah, this is a great question. I think it totally depends on your financial situation and your life situation. If you're looking for a place to rent and you're happy with this, all day I would take that because it doesn't lock up as much money. Then literally you've got a situation where you could buy 2 of these and you're only paying what? An extra $3,500 on your down payment on this one if you end up doing only 3.5% down. So if you're comfortable living in it all day and then go find another one. If you're not, if your living situation doesn't work with it, then you got to do the 25%. Yeah, so if you can swing it, I would tell everyone, if you can swing it, find a way to put down as little as possible because we'll show you in the car, even if this wasn't a great deal, your cash on cash return is going to be through the roof by having a low down payment.
Awesome.
All right, Ryan. So looking at this, you can see, and maybe we'll have you pan, the yard is pretty dumpy. For me, I look at a property like this, and some people would say no way to pets. But if it's me, a lot of this stuff is so easy to fix up that if you could pull someone with a dog that's like, oh, I get this yard, I get this kennel, I get this situation, and you're getting them an extra $100 a month, so now you're looking at $1,000 a month for this place, I would probably take that all day. I think a lot of people would disagree with me. But when it comes to this yard, a couple things stick out that are maintenance issues. First of all, you've got to either mow it or get the tenant to mow it.
Yeah.
You're going to want to figure that out. The other thing is it doesn't have a sprinkler system. Now, I know that sounds minimal and not a very big deal. But on the properties I bought that don't, the yard ends up looking trash and then end up having to put one in. Or you have to work something with the tenant where you're very strict on having them do it, and it doesn't always work out. So just keep that in mind. It's not a deal breaker by any means, but it is something you're going to have to deal with because someone's going to have to be moving pipe to keep this bad boy watered so it looks reasonable. Cool. So, cool. Well, let's check out down here really quick. Just see what we can find. I got new shoes that I'm worried about. Don't wear new shoes when you're looking to an investment property. It's way too dark to bring the GoPro unless you turn the light on. Couple things. This home is old enough where I know this electrical is new. I would want to make sure that everything looks good from an inspector. I am no electrician. I just know enough to say, all right, this electrical is all new for when this home was built. And I would want to make sure that everything's done properly and you're not going to have the whole place go up in flames. Okay. The other thing that's weird, I wonder if they've had pipes freeze or what's going on with what they've wrapped and what they haven't wrapped. Another thing is you do have galvanized pipes. What that means is you're going to get a lot of buildup out of your sink. Now, it's not a problem. Sometimes they last forever. Sometimes they go sooner. But in your sink, you're going to get a lot of buildup of crap. And it'll clog where the water comes out and make it squirt weird. And you're also dealing with a lot of hard water, where at this point, it's not worth putting in a water softener. It's just something you have to deal with. And on your maintenance, you'll have to deal with that. It's not like most of my properties, you're dealing with that though. So something to keep in mind. When it comes to the water heater, I'm going to have an inspector look at it to make sure it's all hooked in right. Again, something I should know. But honestly, it looks pretty new. I would check how old it is and make sure it's not going out anytime soon. With this furnace, it looks to be new to me, but that's another big thing I would check with your inspector is making sure it's hooked up right and that it's new so that you can figure out your maintenance costs. Because if this furnace is on the newer side, your water heater's on the newer side, and you pick this up for a steal, you're in an awesome place. However, if both of them are on their last leg, those are two very large expenses that you want to make sure you're covered on. So when you get the inspector in, see if there's anything he can tell by the floors to make sure you're not worried about that wobble on the inside. Make sure these are both going to last for a while, or if they're not, make sure you take that into consideration. Now you're taking it into consideration with the expenses you're setting aside anyways, but you want to make sure you're not signing up for another $5,000-$10,000 worth of expenses in the next year. So let's head, is that dog crap? No. Let's head to the Jeep and we're going to check out the numbers on what we think we could pull on this. Where? Son of a... Dude, you smell it. It's just fresh right here. So, Rye Guy, we're going to run through the numbers. Now, if you guys want to download this spreadsheet, you just go to chandlerdavidsmith.com and you can download it for free. This is the spreadsheet I use to run the numbers on all of my properties, and we'll put a link up here so that you can go there and see exactly how the spreadsheet works. But with this property, you're running it right now at $115,000 purchase price. Now we're going to show the difference between a 25% down, or if you go lower, and we're just going to say 5% down on a conventional loan if you decide to live on it. First off, for an investment property, if you're at 900 rents and we're going to say you can pick up a 4% interest rate, which you
Right.
should right now. Keep in mind, the other thing that's nice about single family, the more units, the higher the interest rate. So with it being a single family,
You can
I'm
get
hoping
a little-
4.41. You're probably 4.5, 4.6 in this market if you're
Alright.
looking at a fourplex.
That's nice.
So with that being the case, we plugged in 900 rents. We've done 6% for vacancy, 12% for expenses, 7% for management. I think those are all pretty conservative for this
Yeah.
property. With that being said, we've got your taxes, your insurance, everything plugged in. With that being the scenario at 900 rents, you're looking at a 7.86 cash on cash return. Now, my rule is 10%. Now, what makes this deal interesting is you've got the situation where if you could get them to come down $10,000 on your purchase price so that you're buying it at 105, that's putting you over the 10% cash on cash return. The other thing that you could look at is, let's say you're not able to get them to drop any and you're at 115, but let's say you do put a dog in there, or you find someone that you can
Get that
push the
rent up to
rents
1,000.
and get it at 1,000. Once again, now you're looking at 11% cash on cash.
Okay.
So I think you're close enough. If you could finagle one of those two things, this is going to be a good purchase, even if you're not living in it.
Awesome.
Now, getting more aggressive, let's say you own it for a year. We put the rents back at only 900, and we now are going to look where interest rates right now, you can get as low as a 3.5 if you're living in it.
Awesome.
The other thing is you're looking at a 5% down. And if you're doing a 5% down, you can see your cash on cash return
Wow.
is at 22%.
Wow.
Now, here's where they get you though. With you only putting a 5% down payment, that's $5,000.
Yeah.
You've got a lot of loan, and with that, it's easy to get a 20% return on 5,000 compared to a 20% return on 25,000. What that means is your cash flow is a little bit slimmer. So you've only got $1,300 of cash flow right now. Now, that does not scare me though. That's awesome. I would take that deal all day. However, just realize there might be some years where you clean house. There might be other years where you have to eat into that. So it's going to ebbs and flow. You're not always going to have this 12% maintenance every single year. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So just keep some in reserves. If you're going to do a low down like this, I personally, for this property, I would say I would keep 6 months of mortgage payment in reserves for a worst case scenario.
Okay.
So your mortgage is probably going to be, I mean, heck, we've probably got it on here. Your debt service is $5,000, right? $6,000 a year. So you're looking about $500 per month.
Okay.
So if I'm running that, you do your 500 times 6, leave $3,000 in reserves, and you're going to be more than golden on this situation. With that being said, on your other one, that would still be a great reserves, but I don't think you'd need quite that much if you're putting 25% down, because your cash flow is going to be bigger. Just to show you, if we plug in a 25% down, all of a sudden your cash flow, even though your cash on cash has dropped down, your cash flow has jumped up to $2,500, which gives you another $1,000 of wiggle room.
Awesome. Okay.
So after looking at the numbers, after looking at the property, if you get an inspector in here, everything looks clean, and hopefully you can work them down on the price, I would say, heck man, whether you're buying it to rent or buying it to move in, I jump on this deal all day.
Pull the trigger.
The real question is, do you have the gonads to do it?
Yes.
Now, if you guys enjoyed the video, make sure you push the like button, subscribe to the channel, and we look forward to helping you to create a huge passive income for yourself. Thanks so much, guys. Have a good day.